Welcome to another episode of Big Catch Breakthrough. So we have a special guest here, Kevin Ting, who's been a YouTube influencer for many years now. Started with Bitcoin for Beginners and now with Coinsider, and nearly has 300,000 subscribers, which is incredible. I don't know how many views that is, but anyways, I really appreciate you coming along, and just hoping to learn more about your story and hope to get some advice from you in crypto. So I always ask people, how did you get started in crypto? What was like the first time you heard about Bitcoin or crypto?
For sure. Thanks for having me on your show, Jun. Really glad to be here. How I got started was, I really heard about it first back in university, way back, like over 10 years ago. And I'm a techie, right? So I was one of the people who got in it, quote unquote, for the tech, because I was fascinated by the possibilities, like Ethereum. But I really heard about Bitcoin even back in university. Didn't really buy any. Unfortunately, it was really low back then, like in the hundreds. And I even mined some on my MacBook back in the day, but it was really small amounts. I more so did that for fun. It was like fractions of a Bitcoin. But in 2017, I really dove down the rabbit hole of Ethereum. That was the ICO days. And I hear myself echo, by the way. Do you hear that too?
I'm hearing you okay.
That was back in the ICO days, and there was just people trying to see what could work, what doesn't, and played around a lot back in those days. So yeah, that's how I got into it. Started making content because I saw that there was a need of people making good explainer content. And so I was like, hey, why not? I'll just try it out. Back in the day, the biggest channel was 50,000. Now the biggest channel is like 2 million in this space. So that's how my journey got started, essentially.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So dabbling with Bitcoin really early on, and your channel is called Bitcoin for Beginners. Was there a reason why maybe you started with Bitcoin? And since 2017, there were a lot of other alternatives that were popping up. So just curious about how you settled on Bitcoin for Beginners.
Yeah, so the beginners part is easy. It's like I said, I wanted to make content for beginners. So that's why it's that. The Bitcoin part is because it was the biggest, most well-known one. And so I just wanted to, like back in those days, if you ask people about crypto, they probably only recognize Bitcoin. Now everyone it's more mainstream. So people have heard of all sorts of coins being shilled to them, probably Ethereum, Solana, even maybe even Cardano, depending on the places that you're like the circles you're in, essentially. So that's why back in the day, I decided to go with the biggest one. But obviously we've shifted since then because it's a different world now in this industry.
Yeah, that makes sense. And did you have experience with doing videos on YouTube, or was this new to you?
Totally new, and I learned and improved over the years. Nowadays, my videos are probably 100 times better quality-wise. I started off on my really old and crappy MacBook in my dark, no lighting, orange room. It looked like crap, lighting was crap, sound quality was crap, everything was bad. But hey, I started. And for anyone watching who is worried about not having the perfect equipment and environment to do content, I'd say that's really not an excuse. And to just get started, just jump in and improve over time. That's what I did.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's how we're starting too. We don't have fancy videos and things like that, but that's good inspiration to just get started. I think I've heard that term a lot, where
Yeah,
they just
just get started.
And so what was your journey like? So the 2017, 2018 was a crypto bull market. So it's probably a right timing to start a YouTube channel then. What was it like back then? Can you share any stories of that original IC?
So that was my first cycle. I'm on my third now. I believe this is our third, right? My third, yeah. Back then was crazy times. A lot of it was still very optimistic, people thought that it would change every industry and whatnot. Crypto was still finding its product market fit back then. And like I said, the content space was very small. The biggest ones were literally 50,000 subscribers. And so my channel grew pretty quickly back then from 0 to 50K. And then the biggest ones were like a few 100,000 at that time. But it was more so like the raw wave of interest that got me there. It wasn't because my content was like special or high quality. So that's one thing that kind of fooled me per se. I was like, wow, I'm so good at making content. I grew from 0 to 50,000 in 3 months. But that was just because of the wave of interest. But my content was really bad. And during the bear market, the subsequent bear market, I realized that I had to scratch and claw and improve to get views. And so it's been a constant battle to improve as a content creator. And in terms of like my investing journey, obviously learned a lot of lessons throughout the cycles and do things differently. Back then, aped into all sorts of stuff that ended up being like rug pulls or whatnot, or just worthless projects, and a lot more seasoned and in some way, but also having a strategy. Even if I'm like approaching something in the short term or midterm, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get married to this, but I see a thesis. And so I'm going to swing trade it or chase this thesis for a set amount of time. So that's how I've evolved as both a creator and an investor.
Yeah, that's great that you're able to have this channel where you could get tapped into kind of the audience and just the heartbeat of the industry. I think you get a lot of feedback maybe from your subscribers, and just you're just following the space all the time, so you're really tapped in. And so from that, we'll start with that, and then maybe the investor side next. You were saying that, hey, you got a lot of subscribers, but you had to scratch and claw during the bear market. What was that like? And what were you seeing in terms of the numbers of subscribers from the peak to the trough? And it seems as though it's a common theme in crypto where it's feast or famine. It's like either everyone's
Yeah,
paying attention or no one's paying attention.
yeah, only in this industry, this volatility is crazy. And it's hard for builders and I guess like creators as well to have to deal with this volatility. Probably like in the stock space, it's like much less volatile. Like you can just focus on improving like step by step. But in crypto, it's like when the wave of retail comes, you get like 10,000 views per day and your content this is how I'm thinking about it, right? Like in the bear market, when you make an exceptional piece of content, let's say you get like 10,000 views. But if you take that same content in a bull market, when the retail interest is there, don't change a single thing, just release something similar during the bull market, you may get 100,000 views just because the interest is there to want to search for or click on and watch your video. So the interest and the views drastically shift with the markets, which is not a shocking thing to think about or say.
Yeah, it seems to be correlated with the coin market cap and just the prices. So I guess you could have like content being just the same, just being very highly correlated with what's going on in the market. So what did you do in 2018 to improve? What was your adjustment there? Like you said, okay, hey, this is okay. Now you got to bear down and start to think about quality. What were some upgrades that you made back in 2018?
Just one by one, focus on everything, right? Like when you're making content, there's a lot of different components. You can upgrade your equipment, which I have over the years, and then make the background look better, improve editing. Like I edited myself for a large part, but then so I improved little by little. But then I eventually outsourced to another editor, like an external editor, which has helped a lot. And then basically everything I would do myself and then outsource eventually when I got a chance, improve thumbnail design and then improve my writing for the scripts. So there's a lot of stuff, and it's hard to do everything at once, as you can imagine. If you wanted to improve the entire process all at the same time, that's probably impossible, and that's not a good idea. But if you just take one thing and you're like, okay, this month I'm going to really focus on this, like writing better scripts, or if you do live streams and just planning your live stream better in advance. And then next month I'm going to work on design and then editing and then whatever else. That's how I did it, step by step, one thing at a time. And the other things were still bad while I was focusing on getting the one thing better. But then over time, I've had time to focus on each of those components one at a time.
Sounds good. Yeah, the incremental process makes sense. How did your content selection change over the years from maybe focus mainly on Bitcoin related topics to like how did you think about what kind of content you wanted to
Yeah,
hit?
that's really hard because, well, first of all, there's different types of channels. Some do news, some do education, some do tutorials. So it depends on what kind of channel you are. But then the second thing is you have to think about what people are interested in at the time. That's the hardest thing. Like I still get this wrong to this day. If I pick something that people aren't interested in, then it's going to flop. So whether you're doing a news channel or a tutorial or educational analysis, doesn't matter what channel you're in, you have to really be good at picking things that people are interested in. And so that's honestly a reason why I also changed from like the more Bitcoin focus to general, because I feel like there's only that much you can talk about with Bitcoin. And now there's a lot more stuff going on in the Bitcoin ecosystem, but usually it's just like economics, macroeconomic stuff, or general market stuff. And then there's not really that much else that's interesting or that's like generally interesting, because some things are super niche and then not a lot of people are going to care about that. Yeah, I think to answer your question, it's just getting good at figuring out what people are actually interested in and make content for them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. So let's put on your kind of investor hat. So starting with kind of the same boom bust cycles, and like how have you changed on that side of things as you learn more? You said you used to ape into a lot of things. Maybe any projects or stories you can share about some of these projects
Oh
too.
yeah, I mean, just like too many ICOs and thinking they're going to change the world. Even aped into one that like shared a picture of Vitalik with them, which was really stupid, but everyone was aping into that back in the day. That one turned out to be like a minus 90% loss on token launch, essentially, which is super bad. And then the second cycle, I was a little bit too conservative. Like I didn't really touch T's at all. A lot of stuff I didn't touch. Yield farming I didn't touch, but those had astronomical gains during the bull market. So I missed out on a lot of the biggest gains because I was too skeptical in my second cycle. And now my third cycle, my strategy has once again changed. I'm still skeptical, but I'm willing to give a lot of the smaller things a chance, but not married to them, essentially. The first cycle, I was like, I'm going to hold these forever. They're going to moon. They're going to give me 1,000x gains. And none of them did. Of course, still held my Bitcoin and ETH, but that's a different story. But now the smaller things I play around with, I'm much quicker to cut my losses or just understand that I'm not going to be holding them for too long of a period of time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, from going from one side to the other, and a little bit more of a balanced view these days, which is I think good. I think experience helps out a lot when it comes to just this industry. Yeah, just being successful in investing or trading. And what do you think about this? I know there was a guy, I forget his last name, Travis from Ikigai, was saying that people know some of these coins are not like fundamentally sound at all, but they'll buy it anyways, right? It's this idea. And it goes back to maybe you were a believer before, now more skeptical, but I think the skepticism after a while is that, okay, yeah, this is just based on a lot of this potential, which has a very low probability of success. So it seems to resonate with a lot of people, with me, that, yeah, it's like these feels wrong to invest in something that you don't really believe in. But what are your views on that? Because it seems as though a lot of people are doing that.
I think there are stuff that I believe in, like Bitcoin. I've held my Bitcoin for 7+ years now and never sold. And a few other ones, of course. But I think in terms of the smaller ones, it ultimately comes down to a thesis. Sure, there are newbies that just ape into stuff because they truly believe that it's going to make them millionaires and stuff, which it's like the crypto IQ meme, like the IQ curve meme, right? Like left curve, right curve, mid curve. I'm not trying to call myself right curve. In fact, I think I mid curve a lot of things, but I think it ultimately comes down to having a thesis. This is the reason that you believe something is going to outperform, and then you can invest based on that. And then you need to be smart about it, like why is that, how long is this thesis going to hold true, and what is going to be invalidating factors for it. Personally, I haven't touched meme coins that much, but I think many smart people do see a thesis or an edge there, and then they get in and out accordingly. And I'm not saying that they time it perfectly either, but they're not like the type to think that, not like Doge, or I guess the new ones like Bonk and Whiff is the newer one. All of those, they don't think that they're gonna go to the moon, but they have a very specific thesis and they invest accordingly. So it's like thesis driven swing trading is what I'd call it.
Yeah, that's interesting from an investing perspective, and then also a content perspective that's based on the lessons learned. If there is a demand for, let's say, meme coins, it's probably a good idea to at least address it or create some content around it. And Have you done that? And what is your thesis, or what are like what is the thesis that you've heard that maybe resonates with you on meme coins? It's such a hot topic.
I think one thesis that makes a lot of sense, and like I said, I haven't chased meme coins that much personally. I know friends who have, and they've done amazingly well being ahead of the curve there. But I think one thing is like, where's the hot ecosystem? If you got into the Solana meme coin season before its peak, then you caught a lot of easy like 10x, 20x, maybe even 100x for a couple of them. And then it moved to base and then maybe some other ecosystems. And then another thesis I heard is that a lot of people are fed up with the tech coins, the more like tech focused coins that ended up being a rug pull or lie, or like just a grift because of how they did their predatory tokenomics. And they're saying like a lot of people think that meme coins are more honest because they're not trying to sell you on some pie in the sky vision of changing the tech world or something. And it's just like, hey, here's a meme, it's fun, and we're going to launch it this way, fully transparent. So a lot of people, especially retail, like that more. So I've seen
That's a
people
good,
share that
yeah.
thesis, and I think that's a smart thesis to chase. Personally, I didn't see that early enough, so I didn't chase that. But that's an example of a smart thesis that some people were able to capitalize on.
So that's a fascinating perspective, like a backlash against the tech focus. And it's funny because I do think meme coins is an outlet for the marketing side of things, and the emphasis of when it's very competitive and the industry is very commoditized, even with the technology, then you have to stand out in another way. And meme coins is a way of doing that, it seems. So anyways, that's a very unique perspective that I didn't think about. So that's interesting. Okay. So let's move on to maybe present day. I know you're working on projects, and this one in particular, which seems very interesting. Yeah, maybe you want to share about the DAO project, I call it. But
It's a great segue because we were just talking about investing. And so on the content side, we've always made like analysis videos for retail investors. And so I was always thinking about, or for a long time, I was thinking about creating a DAO for that type of viewer, people who really like great analysis. And the idea is to create a home for like-minded retail investors who don't currently have one. And this is for people who do great analysis, do great research on their own, but they want other people to discuss with, to share different alpha with, to debate with each other, to just help each other out, essentially. And the difference between this and a lot of the other groups out there is that this is going to be a truly democratized and distributed DAO. There's not going to be me or someone else as the guru per se sharing alpha. That's not going to be the case at all. This is going to be a lot of individuals, hopefully thousands of individuals around the world, sharing opportunities that retail can access first in the crypto world. And also like in the stocks world, retail was first to Tesla and like GameStop, meme stocks and stuff like that, right? So there's a lot of opportunities that retail drives, and this is what we want to unearth and help people discover and access within our Retail Investors DAO, which is
great.
coming hopefully in June.
Okay. And then the name is Retail DAO, or what's
Yes,
the
Retail
official name?
DAO for short.
Okay.
Retail Investors DAO long, but Retail DAO for short.
Okay, great. And who are you looking for to participate? It seems as though, as you mentioned, people probably are all over around the world that don't have a community yet, that follow the space very closely. Is there kind of maybe a particular anything in addition to that in terms of the profile of the person you're looking for?
Just people who take research and analysis seriously. People like you and I, essentially, but spread around the world, thousands of people. We're not looking for people who just want to follow the calls of some guru and blindly ape into what they recommend. That's not going to be the case here. We want people who do their own research, who can analyze and think about stuff and want to share that and discuss it with people. And the power of that is that an individual can only do so much research and analysis on their own. Maybe they're on top of a certain niche or a handful of projects, but the wisdom of the crowd can elevate that to a new level. And so that's what we really want to unlock. with this DAO.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is still early stage. How do people participate in this and just if they're interested?
So it's not live yet. So they have to just follow along on social media. You can follow my Twitter. I'll definitely be announcing it on Twitter and on the YouTube. But this is not only me. There's a lot of other core contributors. We have almost like 20 in our core contributors Discord so far, but people can get involved in different ways. They can either wait until launch and then get the airdrop. There's going to be an access and utility token. They can get the airdrop for free. Just have to do a little bit of whitelisting to make sure that it's like a real person and not someone trying to farm it. And then to just join and start discussing with people, start sharing alpha, start discussing, asking questions, debating, sharing research, things like that's easy. That's just doing what people already do, but in this group with other people like them. Now, if people want to be a core contributor, then they can DM me on Twitter or message me on Telegram, and I'll ask them a few questions just to see how they want to help, and then they can join the early contributors team, essentially.
That sounds good. And just in terms of attracting people who may have a particular talent or can identify alpha, what do you think? What is the big incentive? I think in the traditional world, you have investment managers that charge 2% and 20, right, for their fund. So these are retail people. I think there's not a lot of opportunity there, but then there's also maybe some other trading platforms have like copy trading now where it's okay, hey, I have this strategy, people just have to copy it and I'll get a little bit of a cut. Is there any kind of like, how do you see the incentive mechanism working in your platform to get specialized talent to say, hey, this is good? You get access to other people's alpha, which is good. So I think that incentivizes people. But is there anything that where then you have people that are maybe not contributing a lot, but just getting free alpha? Or, yeah, how do you work the incentive model around like this platform?
Yes, that's a great question. We haven't figured out everything yet. It's still pre-launch after all. That's something on our list to figure out. But I think we would like our retail DAO token to be a big part of that. First of all, no fundraise, no pre-sale associated with it on before token generation or upon token generation event. But we want it to be a way to view more access. You can have more of a vote a vote for various things within the DAO. And then if you share great alpha, then you can get props and then you can get more rewards as such. So yeah, we want to use a token as an incentivization mechanism for people who share great alpha. Then maybe they get some more rewards and things like that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But yeah, for those that are interested, I think it's a great opportunity. And just to learn more, I guess they can join the Discord, probably just from the beginning.
So only core contributors are in the Discord right now, or early contributors, I should say. People helping design and launch the DAO. But when we're ready, anyone can get the free airdrop. They just have to do that whitelisting process I said. And if they pass the whitelisting, which shouldn't be hard if you're a real person that's not trying to farm, essentially, then you can just join a Discord. So yes, it's going to be open essentially to everyone.
That sounds great. Yeah. So yeah, look forward to it. Excited about the next steps, and just please keep us updated. I'll hopefully have you back maybe down a little bit down the road, and maybe right before launch or right after launch, whatever the case may be. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the insights. I think it's great for like insights and advice for people in this industry. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jen.